They looked like the perfect married couple, the kind everyone admired. But behind closed doors, perfection was only an illusion hiding something far more terrifying, something no one could imagine.
Normal anymore. It's just that no need to phone lines. A silence. Something inside her marriage was deeply wrong.
To the world, he was loving and perfect. But behind that smile lived a man who knew exactly how to hide darkness behind charm, and no one ever suspected a thing.
One night, she found something she was never meant to see. A stain hidden in silence. A detail that changed everything she believed about her husband and her life.
3 years earlier, a woman vanished without a trace. No answers, no body, no justice. But when she looked closer, the past wasn't gone. It was still alive inside her own home.
She tried to leave but realized she was already trapped. Not just emotionally, but financially, physically, and mentally. An escape was no longer simple or safe. Then came the night she went downstairs where the house finally revealed its truth. Beneath the floorboards was a secret that had been buried for years waiting to be found.
And when the truth finally came out, it wasn't just a story of betrayal. It was something far darker.
A marriage built on abandoned doubts.
From the outside, the Carter home looked perfect. Expensive cars, elegant lights, and smiling neighbors painted the picture of a flawless marriage. But behind those glowing windows, something dark had already started growing quietly. And Elena was beginning to realize that perfection can sometimes hide the most terrifying truths imaginable. Every night, Elena sat alone in silence, pretending everything was normal. The exhaustion in her eyes came from months of fear she could never explain to anyone. Deep down, she felt something inside her marriage slowly changing. Something cold, something dangerous. And she no longer recognized the man she married anymore. The tea dinner parties. Daniel played the role of the loving husband perfectly. He smiled, laughed, and charmed everyone around him. But while guests admired their relationship, Elena sat quietly beside him, hiding the fear building inside her chest. She knew the version of Daniel shown to others was carefully manufactured and false. Late at night, Elena often caught Daniel sitting alone in darkness, staring silently at nothing for hours. There was something unsettling in the way he watched the house. The silence felt heavier every night. And for the first time, Elena started wondering if she was living beside someone she never truly knew. Hidden beneath folded clothes inside the garage cabinet, Elena discovered dark red stains that looked unmistakably like blood. Her hand shook as fear rushed through her body. Daniel's explanation sounded calm and believable, but something deep inside Elena refused to accept it. That moment changed the way she saw her husband forever. Daniel's voice remained soft and controlled while Elena struggled to hide her fear. The calmness in his eyes somehow felt more frightening than anger itself. She wanted to believe him, but every instinct warned her otherwise. For the first time in years, Elena felt truly unsafe standing beside her own husband tonight, alone in the darkness. Elena recorded a message she prayed nobody would ever hear. Her trembling voice carried the fear she could no longer hide. Somewhere deep inside, she believed something terrible was coming. And if that happened, she needed someone to know the truth before it disappeared with her forever. To the community, Daniel Carter was generous, respectful, and kind. People trusted him instantly. He knew exactly how to appear calm, intelligent, and caring in public. But behind that carefully polished image lived a man obsessed with control. And Elena was slowly becoming trapped inside the version of love he created. Elena stared at her phone, confused by messages that had mysteriously disappeared again. Daniel always claimed she was forgetful or emotional whenever she questioned him. Slowly, he made her doubt her own memory, her instincts, and even her sanity. She wasn't just losing confidence anymore. She was beginning to lose herself completely. Arguments inside the Carter home rarely involved shouting anymore. Daniel preferred quiet manipulation over rage. His words were carefully chosen to make Elena feel guilty, unstable, and weak. Over time, she stopped defending herself entirely. and Daniel's control over her emotions became stronger with every passing week inside that beautiful house. Martha Green had lived nearby for years, and she noticed things others ignored. The forced smiles, the late-night arguments, the fear in Elena's eyes. When Martha quietly asked if she was okay, Elena hesitated before answering. Because sometimes the hardest part of abuse is admitting it exists at all to yourself. From behind the window blinds, Daniel watched Elena speaking with a neighbor. His expression changed instantly. The warmth disappeared from his face completely. In that moment, Elena understood something terrifying. Daniel didn't just want love or loyalty. He wanted absolute control over every person and every conversation surrounding his perfect marriage. That evening, Daniel arrived home, carrying flowers and speaking gently, as though nothing had happened. His apologies always sounded sincere enough to create confusion inside Elena's mind. The kindness felt comforting and terrifying at the same time, because every loving gesture seemed to arrive immediately after moments that left her emotionally shattered. Hidden deep inside Daniel's office drawer was a cheap burner phone Elena had never seen before. The discovery instantly filled her with dread. Why would her husband need a secret phone? And why did her hands shake so badly before she even unlocked the screen? Somehow, she already feared the answer deeply. Under the glow of the hidden phone screen, Elena uncovered conversations that made her stomach turn. The messages belonged to a woman named Rachel Vale. Their tone was emotional, desperate, and fearful. And with every text Elena read, she realized her husband had been hiding far more than simple lies from her. Rachel Vale disappeared 3 years earlier without explanation. The case had slowly faded from public attention, buried beneath newer headlines and unanswered questions. But Elena couldn't stop staring at Rachel's photograph, because somewhere behind that smiling face, she sensed a horrifying connection to the man sleeping beside her every single night. At tea charity events, Daniel appeared warm and attentive beside Rachel. Old photographs showed them laughing together comfortably, but Elena noticed something disturbing hidden beneath his smile. Daniel always stood too close, watching Rachel with an intensity that now felt deeply unsettling, like someone terrified of losing control over another human being entirely. Night after night, Elena searched for answers alone in silence. Newspaper articles, old interviews, and forgotten details covered her table while paranoia consumed her thoughts. The deeper she looked into Rachel's disappearance, the more impossible it became to ignore the growing suspicion that Daniel was somehow involved in the woman's fate. Retired Detective Victor Hale never stopped thinking about Rachel's disappearance. Even after the investigation ended, something about the case continued haunting him. The evidence never made sense. And when Elena secretly reached out for help, Victor immediately recognized the same fear he once saw hidden inside Rachel's eyes years earlier. During dinner, Daniel calmly asked Elena why she seemed afraid of him lately. His voice stayed soft, but the question carried a terrifying weight beneath it. Elena froze completely, because deep down, she realized Daniel wasn't asking out of concern. He was checking whether she had finally discovered the truth about him. Inside an old toolbox hidden beneath garage shelves, Elena found Rachel's necklace buried among dusty tools and hardware. The sight instantly confirmed her worst fears. Daniel had lied about knowing Rachel personally, and suddenly, Elena understood that the danger surrounding her marriage was far more real than she ever imagined before. Late at night, Elena quietly packed a small suitcase while Daniel slept upstairs. Every movement filled her with panic. She wanted to escape before it was too late, but fear followed her everywhere. Deep inside, she already suspected Daniel had spent years preparing for the possibility that she might eventually leave him. When Elena checked her bank account, she discovered most of her money had disappeared. Restrictions blocked her access completely. Daniel had slowly taken control over every financial detail without her noticing. In that moment, Elena realized she wasn't trapped emotionally alone anymore. She was trapped financially, physically, and psychologically inside the marriage. Daniel smiled gently while secretly monitoring Elena's location through hidden tracking software on her phone. To outsiders, his behavior appeared loving and protective. But behind closed doors, every act of affection carried control hidden beneath it. Elena slowly understood that Daniel didn't fear losing her. He feared losing ownership over her completely. Inside a quiet diner lit by fading neon lights, retired Detective Victor Hale finally met Elena face to face. He listened carefully while she described Daniel's disturbing behavior. Victor had seen similar patterns before, and as Elena spoke, he realized history might be repeating itself in ways far darker than anyone imagined. Martha Green finally admitted she once witnessed Rachel arguing with Daniel outside the Carter house years earlier. Rachel looked terrified, desperate to leave, while Daniel remained strangely calm. Martha regretted ignoring the moment for so long, because now the memory felt less like an argument and more like a warning nobody understood. One night, Elena heard strange sounds echoing beneath the basement floorboards. Soft scraping noises moved through the silence like something hidden desperately trying to escape. Frozen in fear, she stood at the hallway entrance, unable to move. And for the first time, she truly believed something horrifying might exist underneath her home. The basement staircase disappeared into complete darkness below. Elena stared downward, overwhelmed by a fear she couldn't explain. Every instinct warned her to walk away immediately. But another part of her needed answers more than safety, because whatever Daniel was hiding down there had already started destroying her life from the shadows. As thunder shook the neighborhood and electricity disappeared across the house, Elena realized this might be her only chance to uncover the truth. The darkness outside mirrored the fear growing inside her. Somewhere beneath the Carter home, secrets had remained buried for years. And tonight, those secrets were finally waiting to emerge. Using a flashlight and shaking hands, Elena carefully pulled apart the hidden basement floorboards. Dust filled the cold air while panic rushed through her chest. Every creaking sound made her fear Daniel was standing behind her already. But the need to know the truth had become stronger than the fear controlling her life. Inside the hidden boxes were photographs, blood-stained clothing, identification cards, and deeply personal belongings connected to Rachel Vale. Elena's breathing became heavier with every item she uncovered. This wasn't simply evidence anymore. It was proof that Daniel had secretly preserved pieces of another woman's suffering inside their home for years afterward. Stacked carefully beside an old television were dozens of videotapes labeled with dates and initials. Elena immediately sensed something deeply disturbing about them. These weren't random recordings. They were organized like trophies. And somewhere inside those tapes existed horrifying moments Daniel had chosen to keep hidden from the world permanently. As the videotapes played, Elena watched Rachel emotionally collapse under months of manipulation and psychological torment. Daniel's voice remained calm behind the camera while Rachel cried helplessly. The cruelty wasn't physical alone. Daniel enjoyed controlling fear itself. And Elena realized she was witnessing the same emotional destruction slowly happening to her own life. The basement lights suddenly flickered back on, revealing Daniel standing silently at the top of the stairs. His face showed no panic, no anger, only terrifying calmness. Elena's entire body froze instantly, because in that moment, she understood Daniel never expected his secrets to stay hidden forever. He expected acceptance instead. Surrounded by evidence of years of suffering, Daniel calmly began explaining himself while Elena stood trembling in fear. His words sounded almost rational at times, which made everything even more disturbing. He spoke about abandonment, betrayal, and emotional pain. But beneath every excuse lived something far darker, an obsession with domination and control. Hidden deep within an isolated forest stood a small cabin connected to Daniel's darkest secret. The place looked abandoned, forgotten by the world itself. But years earlier, someone had been trapped inside those walls with no escape. And the truth about what happened there would permanently destroy Elena's understanding of her marriage forever. Inside the freezing cabin, Rachel Vale spent months living in fear and isolation while Daniel controlled every part of her existence. The loneliness slowly destroyed her emotionally long before she escaped physically. Rachel's suffering wasn't sudden violence. It was psychological imprisonment designed to erase her identity piece by piece over time completely. Late into the night, Victor Hale uncovered hidden evidence buried inside forgotten case files and financial records. The deeper he investigated Daniel's past, the more horrifying the truth became. Rachel's disappearance was never properly solved because powerful connections and manipulation had buried the evidence before authorities could fully understand what truly happened. After escaping Daniel's control, Rachel desperately tried reporting the abuse she endured. But without physical evidence, many people questioned her story instead of helping her. Each interview and accusation slowly destroyed her credibility further. In the end, the emotional damage Daniel caused followed Rachel everywhere, leaving her completely broken and isolated afterward. Sitting calmly in darkness, Daniel finally admitted the truth without showing remorse. He claimed he never physically murdered Rachel, as though that somehow erased his cruelty. But Elena now understood something terrifying. Daniel didn't need violence to destroy lives. His true weapon had always been psychological control, manipulation, and emotional domination over vulnerable people. Pretending to forgive Daniel became Elena's only chance to survive. Behind fake smiles and quiet conversations, she secretly gathered videotapes, letters, and evidence exposing everything he had done. Every moment beside him felt dangerous now, because Elena knew if Daniel discovered the truth, she might become the next woman destroyed by his obsession. Alone inside the bathroom, Elena finally allowed herself to break down completely. Tears filled her eyes as she realized Rachel's story was becoming her own. The fear, confusion, and emotional exhaustion all felt painfully familiar now. And for the first time, Elena understood how easily love can transform into psychological imprisonment without warning. The final dinner between Elena and Daniel felt painfully quiet. Candlelight flickered across the table while tension filled every corner of the room. Daniel spoke gently about repairing their marriage, unaware that Elena had already made her decision. Tonight would either end her nightmare forever or trap her inside it permanently with him. Hidden beneath the dinner table, Elena secretly recorded every word Daniel said while trying to control her shaking hands. She knew this conversation could become the evidence needed to expose him completely. But sitting across from Daniel still terrified her deeply, because she understood how dangerous he could become once cornered emotionally and psychologically. Halfway through dinner, Daniel suddenly sensed something was wrong. His expression changed instantly as suspicion replaced calmness in his eyes. Elena watched the carefully constructed version of her husband begin collapsing in real time. Beneath the charm and composure lived a man terrified of losing control over the person he considered his possession. The argument quickly turned into emotional chaos filled with rage, tears, manipulation, and desperate accusations. Daniel blamed Elena for betraying him while refusing to accept responsibility for anything he had done. For years, Elena feared this exact moment. But standing there now, she finally realized she was no longer emotionally controlled by him anymore. Outside the house, flashing police lights illuminated the rain-covered street while neighbors quietly watched from their windows. The perfect image surrounding the Carter marriage was finally collapsing in public view. After years of silence and manipulation, the truth had finally arrived at Daniel's front door with nowhere left for him to hide. Realizing authorities were closing in, Daniel suddenly ran through the rain-soaked driveway, trying desperately to escape consequences for his actions. Panic replaced the calm confidence he maintained for years. For the first time, Daniel looked powerless, and Elena watched silently as the illusion of the perfect husband disappeared completely into darkness and chaos. As police officers placed Daniel into custody, he stared toward Elena with heartbreak and anger mixed together. Even now, he believed love should have protected him from consequences. But Elena no longer saw the man she once married. She saw the truth clearly now. A manipulator who destroyed lives while hiding behind affection. Months after Daniel's arrest, Elena lived alone in a quiet apartment far away from the neighborhood that once trapped her emotionally. The silence felt unfamiliar at first, but slowly, she began understanding the difference between loneliness and peace. For the first time in years, nobody controlled her thoughts, movements, or daily existence anymore. News channels and true crime documentaries cover the Carter case endlessly, shocking viewers across the country. People struggled to understand how such horrifying abuse remained hidden for so long. But survivors watching the story recognized the truth immediately. Sometimes the most dangerous people aren't violent strangers. They are trusted partners hiding behind perfect smiles. Inside his dim office, Victor Hale finally closed Rachel Vale's case file after years of unanswered questions and emotional frustration. The truth arrived far too late to save Rachel herself. But exposing Daniel's crimes finally gave meaning to the investigation Victor refused to abandon. Some cases never truly leave the detectives chasing them. Walking alone beneath the soft morning sunlight, Elena slowly started rebuilding pieces of herself destroyed during the marriage. Healing didn't happen quickly or perfectly. Fear still followed her some nights. But now, every step forward belonged entirely to her. And after surviving years of manipulation, freedom itself finally began feeling real again. Old photographs from Elena and Daniel's marriage burned slowly inside a metal container while smoke disappeared into the night sky. Each image once represented love, trust, and safety. But now, they only reminded Elena of the lies hiding beneath those memories. Some relationships don't end suddenly. They collapse long before anyone notices publicly. With tears quietly filling her eyes, Elena deleted the final voice recording she once created out of fear for her own safety. She no longer needed evidence proving she survived. The nightmare was finally over. And although the scars remained, Elena understood something important now. Surviving is sometimes the strongest form of justice possible. The Carter house stood completely empty beneath the falling rain, its dark windows hiding the horrors once buried inside those walls. To strangers passing by, it still looked beautiful from the outside. But Elena had learned the truth forever. Sometimes the most terrifying secrets live inside homes people spend years admiring from a distance.